It's a train that is constantly going.
Yep.
And you can watch it go by.
Yep.
And if you decide to jump on, you can make your way through the cars to the front.
There's a big difference between knowing the facts and being able to apply them, right? I've got a 23-year-old daughter. I think we talked about that, right? Of, hey, she probably would not invest in a 2-volume set to learn that.
Hey everyone, it's David Bombal coming to you from Cisco Live with 3 very special guests. Wendell, welcome. Jason, welcome. Very special guest, Robb, welcome to the channel.
Glad to be here.
Robb's going to help me interrogate the Cisco Press authors. But Wendell, let's start with you, because we've discussed this offline. You're very, very well known for writing CCNA books.
Sure.
But I want to jump straight into it. CCNA's just changed.
Right.
I'm assuming the books are being updated?
Yes, we've got a 2-volume set. So volume 1's out now. Volume 2 will be out in a few weeks toward the end of June.
Oh, brilliant.
And then we sell them in a 2-book set.
Yep.
It's a cardboard box with both books in it. That's cheaper. So most people wait till the library's out. And that'll be about mid-July. And the exam is not available until August 20th. So I think most people will probably end up waiting and buying the cheaper 2-book library. Just makes sense from a financial perspective. But yeah, we've got the books out nice and early this time.
I was going to say, that's great, because the big concern for a lot of people is the exam's announced, and then the material's not available till much later. So I'm really glad that that's happening.
Yeah, so the backstory is I thought Cisco was going to rev the exam in 2023.
Okay.
So I did everything I could do to get ready for the new exam topics. And it's basically been in the can except for the exam topic changes for a year. So when we got the exam topics from Cisco, it was just write those topics. I made Jason do all the new content, or at least a big chunk of it. Made, he was part of the author team now. So from purely getting the product out the door, we had 3 people working on the new topics, and Cisco made, honestly, minor changes. So I think probably on the calendar, 5 weeks maybe from when we got the final exam topics to when the authors were done with our part of the work. So yeah, we got the books out pretty quick this time. And I think that works out well.
Can I ask a question on that? I'm just kind of curious about the structuring of this. So they give you the topics.
Right.
But you don't know exactly what angle they're going to take on them, because these topics are broad. So but at the same time, the testing is going to shift within that gamut anyway. So how do you decide how granular to go within a given area?
Yeah.
Is because what's the cutoff for you on, oh no, I'm branching into a CCDE or something else,
It's really hard. It is the hardest thing. So I've thought a lot about the flip side. What if it was, you say, hey, it's very general. What if they tried to define it? Blueprints instead of 4 pages are 40.
Yeah.
And they tried to scope it. And they said, we will never ask you a single thing beyond the document. They define every question or every command and every command parameter. And then when you go take the test and they ask you 2 out of 100 questions that you think strayed, you send a support request saying, hey, you give me points for those 2. It would be completely impractical. So I like it. It's like, college entrance exams in the U.S. Hey, you get a general idea of what's in there.
Yeah.
No one knows all the vocabulary for a college entrance exam, right? You just can't know it all. No one knows everything that can be in any Cisco exam because of the interpretation. But there's a new certification that's before CCNA. In fact, it's a couple. There's a CCT networking, CCT cyber.
Yep.
There's a third one, IT support. But the networking one, I just took it this morning because it's free at the show. And I thought, I'll take it. It's made to be shorter so you can have it like in a high school class period for 50 minutes. And I'd say it's maybe the easiest 25 to 35% of CCNA.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
A lot less command line interface.
It's a good warm-up, into that. So there are options is what you're saying.
And
I
Rob,
like that.
The question to you then is, when are you going to do your CCST?
I don't have time for any tests. I'm very, very important and very busy. And that's really the illusion I'm trying to maintain.
So can you tell us sort of, I don't know if you want to go in detail, or Jason, you can jump in here as well, details of like what stuff's changed, what have you updated? Because I'm assuming you had to change certain things, but you probably made some updates based on feedback over the years and so forth?
Sure. We probably made by volume more changes based on our choice because of feedback.
Yeah.
But for the exam topics themselves, there was a minor amount of changes, but of course we updated the books to match that. So just a few out the top of my head. Probably the single biggest change was there's a new exam topic that mentions 4 more spanning tree topics.
Oh, wow.
They used to be, and they still are, in the CCNP Encore exam. I like having more spanning tree, but I also wish it was either, back to the whole interpret the exam topic, the verb is identify.
Yep.
Is it identify by looking at configuration and show command output, or is it identify by
And you're saying that's not clear what it is, how it's identified?
Well, it's open to interpretation. You have to choose as a content author how deep and wide you go to interpret. But yeah, that's a big one. And I guess one of the ones that's big that's in our volume 2 book that Jason wrote is AI. So why don't you jump in and talk about that?
There is some things about generative AI
Yep.
and versus narrow AI. So there's some things there when you're thinking about what it really means, because there's a lot of talk about AI nowadays. It's what you can benefit from it. So you think about things like ChatGPT, we talk about it all the time. That's more of a generative style. Narrow AI may be something similar to Alexa, turn on the lights.
Okay.
Right? They have a very canned set of things that they can do. And if you try to ask them anything, a typical response you get is,
Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't know that one. And so that was a big one. And then some of the tweaks to the network programmability pieces to that, I think you're going to start seeing, even just outside of the CCNA, you're going to start seeing AI-enabled programmability. So that's going to, the world's going to change. It's going to be pretty
Did you go really
impressive.
deep onto the AI stuff, or was it just like a high level?
No, and I think it was it Describe? It might be Describe for
Yeah,
AI.
it's a
So I
Describe verb.
basically just gave some examples. And then one of the things I thought was kind of fun was just a couple days ago here, we did an AI-generated songwriting and performing
Yep.
thing right here in the Cisco Insider booth. So we had ChatGPT create some songs, and then we played the actual live instruments live here. So what I did is, prior to doing that here, I thought it'd be cool because I'm a big music guy, as everybody knows. I had to create a song about studying for your CCNA.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
And then I performed it here a couple days ago. So it was pretty fun. And that is why I sound the way that I do right now.
You lost your voice.
Because one of our colleagues, Jesse, decided that he wanted to have an IP version 6 song in the tune of Slaughter to Prevail, which is probably one of the most low. Guy sounds like he's gargling gravel. A lot of cool things coming out of that, and the changes are something that everybody is seeing in their customers' environments nowadays. So you're using it at home, or you're using it in your work platform, no doubt.
There was a lot of concern about the AI from the community, from what I saw. They were worried. I mean, CCNA, now we're talking about spanning tree, and now we're talking about AI.
Yeah.
It's a big breadth,
Specific
right?
to very
Yeah.
general, and then because I would think that's even, you've got great groundwork for kind of knowing where some of the parameters are, even on new topics. I would almost think they may be looking to you to say, yeah, that's how much AI we should put in based on what you wrote.
Let me comment on that a bit. I put something in the introduction of the books up front and talk about that, and talk about how do you study for a test that is inherently that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where my books, David's courses, which are wonderful, other people's, we cannot define exactly, based on Cisco's practices, which are their better choice, I think, exactly what the scope is. And honestly, the question mix is going to change over time, and it may go from narrow to broad,
Yep.
or shallow to deeper as they fully interpret or continue to interpret those exam topics. So how do you practice for that? How do you prepare? If something is fundamentally wrong with our books versus their interpretation, we put out an exam updates appendix. To give an example, Cisco changed the exam topics in, it was either 2007 or 2013, where they took configure and verify of our STP out. It was configure and verify STP, the old. And I took them at their word and didn't talk about configuring and verifying rapid spanning tree, which is what, everybody with a brain would have been running by then.
Yep.
It was all over the test, the thing, they configure and verify RSTP. So a big change, I feel like I can put new material out and say, hey, I blew it. It's here. But if I see one question that I don't cover, now we're a brain dump. So I tell them up front, hey, you're going to see a question or 2 or 3 or 4 that I didn't cover the factoid. This is the nature of it.
Yeah, that's the way
So
it is.
you
yeah.
nail the dead center. You nail the next to dead center. You nail the next to that. You get all of that. And the stuff that irritates you that you've not heard of, you'll still pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't kid yourself. You got to nail the middle.
You will pass the class if you study my stuff.
Hey, I like that one.
Yeah.
Hey, can you do that for me? Do it again.
You will pass his class, you'll pass that class, study Wendell stuff.
So I want to just pull this back to the books, and I also want to mention your YouTube channel, Wendell, because you've got a new YouTube channel where you're posting a bunch of stuff.
Right.
And what I really loved about some of the videos you put out is on your channel, you went through the blueprint.
Right.
And you were talking about spanning tree, and you spoke about each of the topics. But, rather than us going through all of that again, can you just talk about what you've got on your channel and tell us about your channel so that people can go and subscribe and go and look at those videos. So tell us, about the videos that you've created.
Sure. So it's on YouTube. It's called Network Upskill.
Yep.
Right. And so when the exam topic and the blueprint came out.
Yep.
I've been playing, all right, let's talk about what changed in the blueprint.
Yep.
And then let's talk about what we decided to change in the book. Jason and I and Dave Huckabee, the third author. So we had decided to change things based on our preferences.
Yep.
Hey, I'm going to, here's a page that I want to update next time, or 2 pages or whatever. The details are all there. So you look at a playlist that's all about advice and news for CCNA. The only videos out there right now in that, the YouTube channel is only 2 months old. So the only advice and news videos are about changes we've made based on the new blueprint. So I updated the access control list chapters.
Okay.
And I added an entirely new ACL chapter on applying ACLs to overhead protocols like OSPF and DHCP and NAT.
Yep.
And all the weirdnesses that happen with those protocols with ACLs, unrelated to any exam topic changes, just because of seems like it's a good idea on the test to know those things for the test. So that's definitely worth seeing what's in the test. There's a list of those things in the book as well for folks that own the books. But if you just want to know what things we've added, that's the place to go.
Yeah, I'll put those links below. So if you want to see a detailed analysis of like each of the topics, that's correct, right? And then the blueprint changed, and also the stuff that you thought should be changed. Is that correct?
Right. So we've got blueprint changes in one video.
Yep.
We've got another that's about things we changed by our choice.
So Jason, cloud is a big topic, been around for years. I believe you've done an update on that in the book. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So there's a couple topics that we put in there. One was obviously Meraki, because Meraki Dashboard is a piece of cloud that everybody knows. And for everybody's benefit, there's a new Cisco Press Meraki book out that's pretty nice. So we wanted to talk about what you do, how do you deploy things, zero-touch provisioning, all of these things in the cloud.
Yep.
And Meraki is basically probably the number one thing we want to pitch with that.
Yep.
The second thing was going to be, how do we deploy if it's not, if it's not Meraki? You want to deploy things like ESXi or virtual machines, and understanding what a virtual machine is. How do you get into the consoles of these different devices like virtual routers and stuff like that, right? The new 8Ks and all these things. So we put that in there to kind of show everybody that cloud is more than just you're sending something off to somebody else's data center. It's your stuff that you would manage like on-prem, but it's just hosted in another place. So understanding how that all works, how do you get to it, how do you manage it, console, and understand where your data is flowing and how that all works, that's pretty much what we put in there from the cloud. The difference between on-prem, hosted, and managed. Yep.
Can I pass the CCNA exam just using your books? Because this is the kind of question I get every day, right? Can I pass the exam just with your course? Or can I pass the exam just with your books?
Well, I can say I passed my exam in the CCNA by using his book prior to being involved with it. So, now I would hope so.
I can say with confidence, if you mastered all the facts in the book and then could apply them, you have the skill level to apply them, yes. But there's a big difference between knowing the facts and being able to apply them.
Yeah.
Right? So if you've got a question that gives you a scenario and you've got to do the subnetting math and you've got to figure out the configuration as opposed to having memorized some configuration, you know what I mean? You've been through that.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a big difference there. So you've got to put in the work to build the skills. But I can guarantee you will see a few of those things like, I don't think I saw that. Back to the whole scoping issue. And then every time the new exam comes out, I go off and take it again to make sure they haven't moved my cheese, so to speak, and, added in things that we didn't have in there. But yeah, I feel confident about that.
I must say this, the feedback I've heard from the community is your books are very, very detailed.
Yeah.
And sometimes people say too much. We had a conversation about like young people, I'm not going to read 2 thick volumes like this, but if people go through that and put the work in, they're very well prepared.
Yes, I believe so. And an interesting point on that, that I've got a 23-year-old daughter. I think we talked about that, right? Of, hey, she probably would not invest in a 2-volume set to learn that. So how do you meet those people? That's partly why I've started this YouTube channel to help people with that. In fact, the first playlist I've termed it a CCNA reading break. So every first section of every chapter is my first goal. Alternate video, instead of you reading the first section, you can take a break and watch video. Then maybe I'll get the whole series filled in. But so how do you meet somebody that's learned how to learn primarily through video and interactive things? And we're figuring that out right now as we speak, because maybe all you do is refer to the book to get the depth, but maybe your primary learning on half or 3/4 is from a video.
So I just left Cisco 2 months ago. Almost 11 years. But what I've noticed is that you have to meet the learners where they're at. And that goes back to the depth of the books. We have a big, thick book because if you picked it up and went through it, there's a very good chance you're going to pass. But there are folks who already know AI or already know spanning tree or something like that. So when you're looking at what Cisco is putting out there, and at that point, you understand that the customers are looking to do these things, and they follow these trends, and they make sure that they try to steer you in the right direction, starting with CCNA. And that's why we have these new CCST certifications for, cybersecurity, IT support, and networking. It's to get that fundamental understanding of what you're building off of, to start getting to the point where, yes, all these, it sounds like pipe dreams, right? Because it's so big and futuristic and stuff, and you get this, right? But it's one of those things that it is attainable. You just got to follow that, I don't want to say breadcrumb or the trail, but it's that thread that weaves through all of this stuff. And it's different for every single person. And that's why I like how we changed all the certifications in 2020, right? You basically create your own destiny. Choose your own destiny. I want to be a CCNP with SD-WAN. I want to be, whatever voice. So I think now with the new CCDE AI exam that just got pushed out, and all the AI coverage and stuff in CCNA, that really ties all these things together to say it's not segmented like we think it is. It is all one big, awesome ride that we're on together, and it's unfolding before our eyes.
And I agree with your point on that fundamental knowledge, because it's amazing how many, even the most basic things can really help you with troubleshooting. You understand how something, you're like, oh, that kind of explains why this action might be happening that seems random, but it's all because of a base level mapping that was done previous.
It's just, they feel that there's too much gone by to get started. And we've talked about this in another interview. It's a train that is constantly going.
Yep.
And you can watch it go by.
Yep.
And if you decide to jump on, you can make your way through the cars to the front. But if you don't jump on, you've never started. Yeah. So you have to just grab on and then start working your way to the engine of the car. It's basically what it is,
The consistent thread that I hear from people that talk to me that are going through CCNA, the successful ones are the ones that work hard at it.
Yes.
Whether they read the book or watch the videos, if you don't lab, if you don't review, study, but do things that internalize what you learn, you're toast. You're not going to get there. So I've met plenty of people this week that are even young that read every word. The people that watch David's videos, for instance, they put in the work to go with that, right? They didn't just watch you and go take the test and pass it, right?
No.
Right. So I think that's an important part. And, you got to be willing to do that.
You got to put in the work.
You got to.
Got to put the work in.
Yeah.
Okay, question a lot of people will probably be thinking about is, can I do CCNA out the gate, or do I need to do CCST first? What would you recommend?
You can do CCNA first.
Okay.
But CCST is a great place for folks that have no experience, no knowledge from a class or anything. So if you're starting from zero, the great thing about it is it's a low bar. You get used to taking a test. It's an inexpensive test. I think in the US it's $125. And they even gear it, at least how they position it is more for even high schoolers or people just out of high school in terms of age, but not that, you have to be that age to do it. I know plenty of people that have been older than that to took it. I took it this morning here at the show, even just to check it out.
I took it back a few months ago. It's a good exam.
Right. And I love the interface. It's clear. It's got some question styles even you don't have on CCNA. So excellent execution on, from a testing perspective. Like, for instance, I was watching for how much subnetting, right? Everybody gets freaked out about subnetting.
Yep.
I don't think you'd have to learn how to calculate subnet IDs and ranges of addresses, but you'd have to understand a default gateway and what an IP address is, So I thought it was a great level and maybe thirdsies of the depth of CCNA. So yeah, I think it's a great exam. And then you build some confidence and maybe even you make that, I like this. I'm going to keep going. I'm motivated. Or
I think there's a certain level of comfort that you can get from having already seen, well, this is what the testing is like, at least. Maybe you're a little more confident because you got one under your belt and you're like, I'm ready to tackle the next one. And then you can start adding on all these kind of things on your badge.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. On that point, it used to be you could have the ICND1 exam and ICND2 back in the old era. I'm sure you recommended to people as well.
Yep.
Take the 2 exam path if you're a little unsure. Get that experience under your belt as a good stepping. So maybe CCT networking is that first step today.
Jason, you've been quiet. Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have a LinkedIn or something where people can go and get information from you as well, or reach out?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things. I have metaldevops.com. I have Metal DevOps on YouTube. LinkedIn, X is at Jason_Gooley on all platforms,
But
basically.
people can reach out and ask CCNA questions. Sorry to
Absolutely,
interrupt,
reach
yeah?
out to me. And then kind of on the topic of CCST, I'm fortunate that I'm going to be doing the video course for the IT support. And I'm fortunate that I just did the official video course for Cisco Press and Pearson for the CCNA.
Have you finished recording a CCNA course? Is that right?
It's going through Tech Edit right now. You know, I commend you a lot because those short form videos, it seems like the way that all of the younger generation is learning. And I love it. You know, you quick hit, consumable. So then we make a video course that kind of ties into the same topics, but it's not like hours. I think it's the whole course is, 20 hours, I think. So
20 hours.
Yep.
Is it aligned to the books? So do
Absolutely.
they go hand in hand type thing?
Absolutely. So what you see in the books is pretty much what we did in the video course. A lot of similarities there. I use CML for a lot of it
Right.
and some packet tracer stuff. So yeah, it's that way folks know what different levels of technology they can use, what platforms they can use to study, and hopefully make it more easier for folks to grab onto who don't have the time to go through the book or need to be traveling or something to that effect.
Wendell and Jason, this comes up all the time. It's one thing to read the books, but I'm scared to take the exam. Do you have quiz questions or exam prep questions?
Yes, we have ever since the books have been out, but we really worked a lot on the question banks. So the net of it is we topped out a little over 1,300 practice questions in the combined.
You guys are busy.
Yeah, it was already a lot, but it's not so much about a lot. I personally read every question. I gave myself permission to delete some old ones. I refurbished some, totally rewrote some, edited some. Between us, we added 200 more new questions, partly on new content, partly on those changes by choice. And as a result, we had enough questions to double the number of practice exam style where you can take a timed CCNA exam. So now with the print two-book library, there are 4 full CCNA practice exams. And if you get the ebook, part of the inducement to buy the ebook is you get extra practice exams. There are 8 timed CCNA practice exam banks with that, which is more than I think any one person will use, honestly. But we wanted to get to, if you want practice exams, practice questions, and you like them, you are not going to run out of them here. You don't have to go buy a separate practice exam product.
Right.
One of the reasons we did that was we think our books are great for people that are willing to read. But what if somebody loves David's course?
Yep.
And rightfully so. Not just trying to say, oh, David's great. You are great. But
I appreciate it, man.
just the, that style of learning. We think our books plus the practice exams are a great supplementary product just because of the practice exams. And oh, by the way, if you get stuck on a question, of course, it's got a written explanation. You're still stuck. You click the link. It opens the PDF to the pages that tells you in the book about the topic. So now go take David's course. In fact, anyone listening, take David's course. Don't read my book. Use the practice questions.
Read the books.
But you get the idea,
Yeah.
right? So if that's your study model, and we get that back to the figure out what a modern learner wants to do, we want people to learn. And to the extent that we can be useful to people and they want to invest the money in us to do that, we would love for them to do that. And I think the question banks really do help with that.
That's great. I need to ask you this as well. The questions are in the book,
They are
but
they are
you
not
also have a software, or is it like it's just software?
just software. So the questions actually reside in the cloud. So you have a web app option or a desktop app, but the questions, other than when they're displayed in front of you, they're stored in the cloud. Your responses are stored. Your former timed exams are stored. So you can go back and look at your results.
More real world, rather than just reading it in the book.
Yes. So the ones that are printed in the book as chapter pre-quizzes, we data enter those in. So those are actually part of the electronic version of the product as well, if you want to see those even experience of answering exam-like questions.
So to me, that's the maps versus GPS thing
that's a
all
great
over
one.
again. Right?
Yeah.
You're focusing just on GPS. You don't know where, if you're not remembering where you're going to go,
Right.
you can't read a map, you're going to be in trouble. So it goes back to that classic learn it, but need to know how to apply it, right? And retain it.
All right, I hate to jump in again, but I don't know if it's considered a rumor or just the places that I've been hanging out in. But is there anything going on between kind of your legacy and your legacy? What's going on with you two? And can you talk about it on David's show?
You make plans. Plans may change, but if our plans work out, I will retire over time. Jason will take over the books. So, and we're not being secretive about it. We just, If Jason were 3 people, he would be taking over more with the ones that just came out. He was just busy making the new CCNA course concurrent with helping some with the new books. But certainly next edition will have much more Jason in it. And then by 2 editions forward, I'm hoping, I'm traveling the world and Jason's like, please respond to me. And
Congratulations. What great big shoes to step into there.
It's surreal to me because, like I said earlier, right, I used Wendell's book to get the CCNA, and so many folks come up to me and say, oh my gosh, you've helped me get started. You helped me pass this exam. Just a couple days ago, somebody had passed their EN Core certification. And they got the book free from me last year here.
That's so cool.
And they read it and passed the exam. And to me, it's like it touches my heart because I know where I was when I had to prove to myself, am I good enough to actually do it? Can I choose a career in networking? And the proof was I had to take the CCNA and I had to study Wendell's stuff to get there. And it's just,
You got
me,
big
it's just
shoes
like
to fill.
huge shoes to fill. But even at the same time, it's such an honor and mind-boggling thing for me that thank you.
No.
And
You got
for
work
everything.
in front of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well
And
done. Well done.
It's incredible.
well, for the record, if you like sports analogies, he is my first pick in the draft. And he said yes.
I was just saying, the other thing is this current edition is the 10th edition that Wendell did. I mean, it's 10 editions it's incredible. 26 years.
26 years, 1998, Philly, when it was East-West Networkers, was when Cisco announced CCNA and CCNP. They didn't warn, they only had like 5 books out with Pearson, with Cisco Press brand. Cisco apparently they weren't thinking forward in terms of books yet, so they didn't even tell Cisco Press about the certification announcement. So they were scrambling.
That sounds on brand.
And the guy in charge of Cisco Press at the time was currently getting hired away to work for Cisco. So they had a little placard up in the World of Solutions at their booth that was 4 feet wide. And it said, want to write for us, call Jim. And it had his phone number.
Oh, wow.
And so Jim never returned my call. I called him every week for 8 weeks. And eventually his replacement called and said, we just got his voicemails because he's been moving on to this new job. And then eventually it was, we want you to write. I said, all right. And they said, which one? I'm like, which one will sell more? And they said CCNA.
Yeah.
And so there you go. That's the backstory.
Guys, I really want to thank you for sharing. Wendell, thanks, for sharing the backstory, how it started. And Jason, congratulations on taking
so
over.
much.
Rob, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for letting me barnstorm in here.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
And
This is fun.
I really want to see more content on your YouTube channel. So I'm putting you on the spot, right? More content. Wendell, I know your wife's the boss, but you're going to have to twist her arm to put more content on your channel.
Well, I'm enjoying the YouTube part, so I'll put more there, but probably no new books for me.
Jason, you're gonna have to create more content, man.
Create my own channel. I mean, Metal DevOps is the one for metal music, but I think I need one for education, and we got to definitely do something. And I know we'll probably do something together too.
Yeah.
And I know we've already got some plans to kick some things off. But thank you so much for everything. Thank you for all you do, all of you. Right? You disseminate education information to help people, and it resonates. And I've learned from everybody here, even Vincent. Thank you.
That's what we learn from each other. That's for sure. That's what I love about this place.